Our viewers told us which board games they've been playing and why, and we picked out several to share. There's some old favourites, a dash of the newest hotness, and several surprises in this month's People's Choice selections. And first up is the estates. In the estates, investors develop buildings in hopes of earning the biggest return on their capital. Players will bid for various building pieces and place them in the estates to their benefit. All buildings in a completed row score positive points, while all buildings in incomplete rows score negative points, which is something I found out when I played this. Walking away with the best portfolio will require shuffling shekels into the most lucrative locations, otherwise the only house you'll be building is the poorhouse. Viewer AS says that this is a game that you can win with 0 points, especially a shout out to my friend Nick when scoring -79 when we played it at PAX Unplugged. Yes, I've had this exact experience.
We've got a lot more games coming up that have been voted on by viewers, which wouldn't have been possible to cover without Votes for Women from Fort Circle Games, which is running its Kickstarter for second printing right now through January 25th. Votes for Women is a two-sided, card-driven game rewriting the history of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. Votes for Women can be played competitively, cooperatively, or even solitaire. Its upcoming second printing, scheduled to ship this spring, includes over 150 high-quality cards, over 300 wooden pieces, 16 dice, and an illustrated, easy-to-understand rulebook. Additionally, did you know that Votes for Women won the Summit Award for most broadening the hobby through the ease of teaching, ease of play, and uniqueness of plot? I haven't even been able to do that, but it further underscores how this is a fantastic game about a fascinating time in US history. So do yourself a favor and follow the link in this video's description to find its Kickstarter campaign before the polls close on January 25th.
Scholars of the South Tigris is next. Scholars of the South Tigris is set during the height of the Abbaside Caliphate, circa 830 AD. The Caliph has called upon the keenest minds to acquire scientific manuscripts from all over the world. And in the game, points are gained by translating scrolls, increasing knowledge in various areas of science and maths. Players will need to increase their influence in the House of Wisdom in this golden age of knowledge, but be mindful not to neglect one intellectual pursuit over another. Research Case says that they've played this twice now, they love it, and it's siblings and cousins. Look, I've just got into Architects of the West Kingdom, so I've got a lot of these games to go to. And I've heard that this one is particularly deep, so I'm slightly intimidated by it, but I'll probably get to it one day. The next game our viewers have been playing is Three Ring Circus, and in Three Ring Circus, savvy circus directors toured the United States at the end of the 19th century with the objective to hire artists and offer performances in various towns and cities with the intention of gaining fame. My guess, that means points. In towns, features are easy to set and you give your starting resources to upgrade your cast. Small cities are somewhat more demanding, but they allow you to come into contact with better artists, and audiences in big cities are even more demanding and want to see a very specific number of things being done. The performances there will bring you a lot more fame / points. Timothy W says that this game performs a perfect balancing act of simple gameplay and in-depth strategic decision making, much like one of the acrobats in the game perfectly balancing atop a tightrope. See what I did there? The circus theme is great. I do see what you did there. I haven't got round to Three Ring Circus yet, but I tell you what, De Vere Games knocking it out of the park, haven't they, recently? White Castle, have you played it? It's bloody brilliant. I really like that one. So I'm excited to play anything that De Vere Games puts out. This one looks like it's a big, tough one, maybe not as big as Lacrimosa, perhaps. And it gives me the feeling and reminds me a lot of a game called... Hold on. I have Googled. Castell. Do you remember Castell? You're moving around the town trying to put the right things on at the right time, these Castella performances. And I really like that game, so yeah. Game number 7 is Resist. Resist is a fast-playing, card-driven solitaire game in which the Spanish Marquis fight against the Francois regime. I think I'm saying that right. but who can say? Over a series of rounds, the Resistance undertakes increasingly difficult missions. Completing these missions earns the points needed to win. Further ramping up the stakes is the fact that at the end of each round, you must choose whether to end the Resistance or risk it and take on another mission, demonstrating why it's so difficult to resist. Rachel P says that I'm enjoying drafting my own marquee each game and then working out who needs to stay in the shadows and who needs to come out and fight. Somehow every game is different despite a small set of cards. I'm really fascinated by these sets of games, and I've played other games. I think Resist is by... Hold on. What would I do without Board Game Geek? I tell you. Yeah, it's by Salt and Pepper Games, and they did a game called The Hunt, which is a two-player kind of back and forth game, which feels a bit more like Watergate, which is another game that I think they did, a Match of the Century, which is another game, which is a back and forth game, but they also did a game called Witchcraft, which is another solitaire game, which is a sequel to this one. And the artwork in all of those games looks great. I think they're just a company to look out for, aren't they? And I would be very tempted. I'm not the biggest solo gamer in the world, even though I spend a lot of time on my own. But yeah, I'd love to give this one a go. Game 6 is Imperial Settlers Empires of the North, which is a new standalone card game in the established Imperial Settlers universe, with players heading to the far north where 3 different factions live: the Scotsmen, the Inuits and the Vikings. And you can take on the role of a leader and make your faction into the best empire in the world. Well, that part of the north of the world. It's not really the world. You're going to be developing your economy, deflecting your opponents and fighting for dominance in the north, and will you be able to create the most successful civilization? That's the name of the game. Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North. Build a civilization. Greg H says that this has asymmetric clans with fun and engaging artwork that defies the complexity and competitiveness of the game. Yes, please. That was Greg saying, yes, please. I've not played it. Well, I do know that the different factions really do work in very different ways, and you've got to kind of set up your engine, otherwise you're going to lose, you know. And the ways that the different factions you play, I think there's like multiple different types of factions in the different clans, and you've really got to get things going and know how the cards kind of work. So I think your second game of this is probably always going to be better than your first, but it's a game, and the artwork and stuff is lovely, and it does draw you in. Radland, next at number 5, which is a competitive dueling card game about identifying fiercely powerful card synergies. As the leader of a post-apocalyptic group of survivors, it's up to you to guide them in a tooth and nail fight to protect your 3 camps from vicious rival tribes. The main resource in the game is water, which is spent to play people and events and to use the abilities on the cards at the table. Both players draw cards from the same deck, making limited resources even more limited. And to win, you'll need to manage your cards and water wisely. Michael L says that when playing this, they're just getting prepared for the global apocalyptic future world governments are racing towards. I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, what are you going to do? It's too late. We have no power. Once it's decided, it's decided, I suppose. Once the government says, hey, it's over, you'll just give me like, well, I guess it's over. I really want to try this one because I do like 2-player dueling card games, and it's got a name like Radlands. That sounds like the name I would have picked, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
This episode is also made possible by the Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising Elements chest from Lucky Duck Games. Listen to this. This is more than just the latest board game in the series based on the really fun tower defense video game. Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising Elements chest is a Lucky Duck exclusive that's available only on their website. It contains all the content for Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising in a single Elements chest with deluxe upgrades, 3 expansions built right in, and game trays storage. How can you find it? Well, pre-orders are being accepted for it right now with delivery this spring. This is a fully cooperative, standalone board game for 1 to 4 players with asymmetrical characters, magic, monsters, and special events that offers the ultimate tower defense experience right there on your tabletop. Join me in following the link in this video's description to pre-order this web-exclusive version directly from Lucky Duck Games.
Boop is a deceptively cute, deceivingly challenging, and spooky abstract game for 2 players. Each time you place a kitten on the bed, it goes boop, which is to say that it pushes every other kitten next to it one space away. Line up 3 kittens in a row and graduate them to cats, and then get 3 cats in a row and win. And in this version of the game, new ghost cats float between spaces, spooking other cats that will leap right over each other to get away. Viewer Amanda simply says, "Tiny adorable ghost cats, duh." Look, I really like Boop. I've not played Boop because I just haven't had a chance to, and I actually didn't know that there was a difference mechanically. I thought it was just a reskin of the game. But Boop is one of those little gems of an abstract game that comes around every now and again. We get a lot of abstract games, but every now and again you just get one that just hits and you go, wow, that's a fun game. It's tricky, and it's one of those games where when you lose, you just know it was your fault. You know, you're like, why did I do that? That's so, why? And I love that feeling. Well, I love it when I'm witnessing someone else feel it. Cats. La Granja Deluxe Master Set is the next game, which is the upgraded and expanded version of 2014's La Granja, in which 1 to 4 players manage small farms by the Alpich Pond near the village of Esporles on Mallorca. The players must carefully consider the decisions of which dice to draft, which cards to use, which are multi-use cards that you need to play, and where to deliver goods to, the various markets, and how that's going to all work, and then how to utilize flexible powers to afforded by several anytime actions which you can use all the time. It's a lot. And viewer Ian K says, classic game, made even better with high-level production. And what's this? Modules upon modules of new play? Here we go. Classic game, 10 years old. Is that the limit? Is that where we're at? Is that where classic begins? I will say, I love La Granja. There's a lot of debate whether the people of Mallorca say La Granja or La Granja. I don't know. I don't have a Mallorcan to ask. So we're going with La Granja, because last time I said La Granja, I got told I was wrong. So we'll see who tells me I'm wrong this time. But more importantly, the game is so good. It's such a great game. Like, I played it years ago and then eventually played it again, and it just opened up and I just went, wow, this actually is phenomenally good. I think it's one of the best games. It's definitely a top 20 game for me, so I'm a bit biased. And I have played the upgraded production, and while I think I preferred like the look and the artwork of the original game, there is something to be said for the different modules and all that stuff that's been added in. And I'm really looking forward to a game called El Burro, which is going to be the spiritual successor sequel game. So that's coming out this year, I think, as well. At number 2, we have Forest Shuffle, where players compete to gather the most valuable trees, then attract species to these trees, thus creating an ecologically balanced habitat with flora and fauna. On a turn, either draw 2 cards and then add them to your hand, or play a card from your hand by paying the cost of cards from your hand and then putting them into play. So you got to take cards and then you got to pay with the cards that you've taken. Nightmare. During setup, 3 winter cards are shuffled into the bottom third of the deck, and when the 3rd winter card is drawn, the game ends immediately, and whoever scores the most points wins. Normally, not me. Stephen Waffles says, a deceptively simple game that leaves, which are in quotes because of trees, you with a agonizing decision. Do I collect all the horse chestnut trees? If I play the toad, will I be able to find any gnats? Should I try to find all the unique butterflies? How can I sabotage the other players? Don't sabotage, don't. And when will the 3rd winter card arrive? This is probably one of my favorite games of the year. I tell you what, I was very excited when it came out, and I played it a bunch. It's on Board Game Arena, and I just played the heck out of it. And sometimes I did really well, you know, and you think, wow, I'm great at this. And then sometimes you play and you just do terrible. You think, what happened? Surely it can't be my fault. But it inevitably is when you think about it. It's a great game though. It's fun, and there are some, what people say like, oh, this is a standout strategy. This will win you the game. And then you try that strategy next time and you don't win. and some completely different strategy wins. There's a lot of scoring to do at the end, but it's not quite as daunting as it appears at first. Yeah, it's a great little card game, I think is the best way to describe it. And the number one game that we wanted to talk about, that our viewers have been talking about, is Wild Tiled West. It's a wild frontier out there in Wild Tiled West, and it's very difficult to say Wild Tiled West as well. And only the canniest critters will have what it takes to claim this Wild Tiled West. You draft tiles, wild tiles, to build new towns, western towns, across the prairie and help your settlement grow. Defend your citizens from no good rotten outlaws, strike it rich in the mines, or risk it all at the card table. That one. That is the tactic I will be doing. The West is wilder and tileder than ever, and it'll take clever strategy and a bit of luck to come out on top, so saddle up and ride off into the Wild Tiled West. Drew A says that simple tile laying with a fun theme, check. Clever dice mechanism for selecting tiles, double check. And a amazing insert that makes setup take seconds, triple check. Add in fun variant boards and go to 5 without adding a lot of length in the game, and it's a solid winner. I really want to play this game. It's by the same guy who designed Clank, which is something that, I'll tell you now, I'm not going to fact check. I think that is true. And it's just, I love tile laying. It's my favourite thing. It really is in games. I mean, the love of a partner probably would be better than that. Some stability in life, probably I would enjoy more. But in games, tile laying, it's the best. And I like the Wild West. I just do. I don't know why. So I'm really excited to try this one out. It's definitely at the top of my list of games from 2023 that I didn't get a chance to play. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of games on that list, right? For all of us, because there's so many games. But yeah, I'm really excited to try Wild Tiled West, if not repeatedly say it. And that, dear friends, is a sampling of what our viewers have been playing this month. To join the discussion for the next episode, follow the link in the video description to find our Patreon, to find out how to pick the games featured in the People's Choice. And to see the games on our own radar, our personal radars, you can continue this month's On the Radar episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.